First of all, I'd just like to thank all of you. I know many of you have been praying for my mother and for our family, and she died peacefully in her sleep on Wednesday morning, and so we are full of joy that she is now free, and we'll be celebrating her services on Wednesday night and Thursday morning, both in Batavia. But thank you again for your prayers and your kindness. It makes all the difference in the world. The most striking and challenging words in all of today's readings just might be the very last line of our second reading from the book of Revelation, when God says, "Behold, I make all things new." Now, it's clear by the passage that God is not talking about making new things, but instead about making things that already are, things that already exist, new. Like recreating them or refashioning them. How do you do that, though? How do you take something that already exists and make it brand new? Well, what comes to mind for me are all those times that I've seen things in a new light, or with a new vision, a new understanding, a new perspective. I'm sure that's happened to you from time to time as well. Maybe something that we see every single day and take for granted and overlook, but suddenly it strikes us as being new and fresh, completely different. Like the times we hear stories about couples who run into each other years after high school, and they fall in love with each other for the first time. And the whole time they're thinking, how did I not notice this person back during our high school years? Or all the times that children are looking at things as they're brand new. They're experiencing something for the very first time, and it gives us a new perspective as well. I had an experience like that years ago that gave me new perspective, that gave me a new vision, a new understanding of things. I was working construction the summer before I entered the seminary, and it had been a particularly long and grueling day working on the tollway in 95-degree heat, and the traffic, of course, on the way home was awful. I felt like I was sitting on the tollway forever. The air conditioning wasn't working in my car. I was tired and dirty and sweaty, and I was complaining vociferously the whole way home. But when I got home, my mother met me at the door and told me that my father was in the hospital. He'd had a heart attack. And when we arrived to Delnor, they were preparing to airlift him to Loyola Medical Center in Chicago. And as I talked with my dad and prayed with him and held his hand, and as I saw the anxiety and the worry in his eyes, suddenly everything in life looked new to me. It looked different. You know, nothing is as important as our loved ones and their well-being, right? And I thought, how could I have been complaining about something as trivial as traffic? How could I be complaining about that? Instead, I should have been rejoicing in the traffic, because it meant, number one, that I had a car, and number two, I had a job I was driving to that was paying me well. It changed my perspective forever, my father's heart attack did. It put things for me in a completely new light. To listen closely to God, whose true nature, whose love for us is revealed to us through Jesus Christ. To listen closely to God, our Father, is to see things anew, to see our lives and to see our world through new eyes, with a new vision, a new understanding, a new perspective on things. To listen closely to God is to see ourselves and to see one another and to see the world through the eyes of Jesus Christ. And through his eyes, things are very different. Through his eyes, love in particular takes on a whole new meaning for us and gives us some new demands as well, too. It's a love that even makes our relationship with God new, too. So as we heard John say in the book of Revelation today, and I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "Behold, God's dwelling is with the human race. He will dwell with them as their God." So God dwells with us in Jesus Christ. He's with us every moment of every day, and that's pretty jolting. That should be an eye-opener for us. God loves us so much that he risked everything to become one of us. and even shared in our death. What could be more new than that? What could be more new than that? You know, for eons and eons before Jesus came, people had only imagined God as being far away in the heavens, distant, removed, not concerned with their daily struggles or earthly life at all. But no, now we see him among us in Jesus Christ. God's actually made a home with us. That's really new. That's really new. And it makes all of life new. And as I said, it makes new demands on us too. Things aren't as they seemed before Jesus came. We can no longer look at our world in our old way of relating to each other as if we're islands kind of just bumping into each other occasionally. No, now we have to relate to life with a sense of unity, a sense of solidarity, where your joys are my joys, where your sorrows are my sorrows, where an injustice done to another human being, even on the other side of the globe, matters to me, matters to me. Why did God do it? Why did he become human? Why did he send his son, Jesus Christ? Well, to save us, certainly to save us. But also, I think, to kind of jolt us awake. He wants his love to be an eye-opener for us, to help us see each other in a new light, with newfound respect, with newfound reverence, and to help us see our lives in a new light, too, with new purpose and with new meaning. That capability to love that God's placed in all of his children, in you and I, and all of his children, the ability that Christ commands us today to use is eternal, and it does make all things new. So what aspect of my own life do I long to see through new eyes, through the eyes of Christ? Let's ask God for the vision that we need.